Ladies and gentlemen, I've decided not to seek a seventh term in Parliament. Over 30 years ago, when I joined the Australian Workers' Union, I was driven by the belief that everyone, regardless of circumstance, deserves an equal opportunity, the opportunity to fulfil their potential. That's what fair wages and safe workplaces, decent conditions are all about. It's recognising the merit and worth of every individual. It's the same principle which brought me here in 2007. A determination to always stand up for the underdog, for all the people who don't start out with the same set of advantages in life. But there's something else that AW members have taught me. In the end, we're all just passing through. What matters is whether we leave the place better than we found it. That's the challenge I've always been up for. It's why I'm so proud to serve in the Albanese government. I genuinely consider myself to be one of the luckiest people in politics. I've been the member for Maribyrnong. It's a community I love so much. I've had the privilege to serve in portfolios that I care about. There was the bushfire reconstruction, industrial relations, superannuation. When I first came here, the Junior Minister for Disabilities, and now the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And for nearly 6 years, I had the very amazing privilege of serving as leader of our party and the movement which has been such an irreplaceable part of my life. None of this would have been possible without the tremendous love, patience, support from Chloe, Rupert, Georgette and Clementine, the sacrifices they've made. Chloe has been a tower of love and strength, and I think she's shown more courage than I dreamed could exist. I'll thank others later because today is not my valedictory. There's plenty more work to be done. I would like to take this opportunity to make a couple of reflections. When I was voted Labor leader after the 2013 election, the party, as the Prime Minister said, was at a low ebb. We were reduced to 55 seats, our worst result since 1996. We were up against an ascendant Abbott government with a fierce ideological agenda, and the 2014 budget was the centre of that. There was an attempt to dismantle Medicare, slash the funding for schools and hospitals, make it harder for people to go to university. They're ripping off the safety net for people on the pension and young people looking for work. And they were walking away from renewable energy arena, turning our back on climate action. If you look back at the commentary at the time, there were many who said Labor should simply roll over, accept the mandate, support these visionary ideas. There were some who argued it would be smart politics for us to let people feel the pain of these cuts. But instead, our united team, we decided to back ourselves. We stood against these changes. We looked to Australians not just for their approval, we trusted in their instinct for fairness. We argued on the policy, we took the responsibility to put forward positive alternatives, put pressure back on the other side. Not every idea succeeded, I understand that. We didn't win every battle, but Labor, we never stopped trying. Whether it was defending Medicare or real action on climate, marriage equality, advancing First Nations representation in our ranks, championing wages and conditions, setting a target of 50% of women MPs by 2025, the Banking Royal Commission or tax reform. These were hard fights, all worth having. Just as the Robo-Debt Royal Commission, which our Prime Minister backed in shadow cabinet from day one, is now changing social services for the better. Even Labor's tax cuts, now delivering for every Australian, including low and middle income earners, instead of the flat rate at the top end. That was a battle that started many years ago. This is always when Labor is at its best, when we are the party of ambition and compassion, when we use the power of politics to stand up for those who were denied power by the circumstances of their birth or the shafts of fate. The Prime Minister gets that. It's what drives our entire government. It's what continues to drive me every day. I particularly want to speak to people with disability, their carers and the people who love them and work with them. I love the NDIS. I helped create it. We've repaired it. I'll always defend it. I will use every minute left in this job to secure the future of the scheme and ensure it continues to empower with choice and control and give Australians with disability the chance to fulfil their potential. And the same goes for every Australian who relies on Services Australia. We've got work to do to ensure our citizens can access services equitably, fairly and quickly. And the digital transformation that we do will prioritise the ability of our citizens to control their own information. In conclusion, I've experienced some extraordinary political highs in the last 17 years, and let's face it, some extraordinary political lows. But there is not a single day in the last 17 years that I would hand back, because every day I know how lucky I have been to have the privilege to serve the Australian people. Now, like many people in their 50s, I've started to think about what comes next. I have a choice, which I've discussed with the Prime Minister, to seek more terms in Parliament or step into a new career while I'm relatively young enough to make that choice and can choose a career consistent with my ideals about ensuring that people can fulfil their potential. Core to the future of Australia is ensuring our nation can choose its own path. That means choosing education, choosing skills, choosing the reskilling of our Australians, choosing lifelong knowledge acquisition. That is why I'm excited to say that from February of next year, I've been chosen to be the Vice Chancellor of the University of Canberra. Education is the modern means of taking someone from disadvantage to advantage in a way that no other method can. And universities have a critical role to play. The hopes and dreams of Australians are lifted when they're able to fulfil their own potential, and the hopes and dreams of our nation are lifted too. I'm looking forward to joining a university that has been rated #1 in the world for reducing inequalities, where 40% of graduates are the first in family to obtain a degree. That was my mother's story, so for me this is the fair go in action. I have gratefully accepted the Prime Minister's request that I remain serving in the Cabinet and continue to complete our first term reform agenda for the NDIS and government services. I'm thankful to be leaving Parliament while there are still some people who want me to stay, and while I have more to give to this great country and the remarkable people who call it home. Thank you very much.